All right, folks, welcome back to Stream Catchers. It is your lovable host, your boy AB, along with our other lovable host, Jack. Jack, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Feeling good, feeling great. Listen, man, we had a hoot last week talking about Marvel and ranking all of the MCU movies and shows. So let's run it back this week with our other favorite franchise. Let's rank Star Wars. What do you say?
Yeah. Last week was a blast. I can't believe we're such nerds that we can talk about Marvel for 2 hours and 40 minutes and not even not even realize.
And you thought we would do both review rankings in one pod, and I was like, I think this is going to be a solo pod each.
Yeah,
And,
I couldn't have been more wrong. Yeah.
2 hours plus. Honestly, like if we because there were points I listened to it. I went back and listened to it, and there were points where we kind of rambled a bit. And if we hadn't been like, okay,
sure.
we got to move on, we would probably
could have been there forever.
Yeah. So this one won't be quite as long. We only have 15 shows and movies to rank, but it probably will be more divisive, and I will be really curious to see where your movies land, where mine land, and kind of how this unfolds. So strap in, folks. And if you haven't listened to the Marvel one yet, make sure you check that out. Available on all podcast platforms or YouTube. It's a doozy. So make sure you set some time, listen to it while you work out or shower or chores, whatever you do. I don't know. So
long drive, got a road trip coming up. A really long road trip.
Listen to our velvety tones and kick back and enjoy. Let's just strap in. Let's get it going with this one. Do you want to kick us off again? Start us with your number 15.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just do it the same way we did the Marvel ones. We'll take it from the bottom and work all the way up.
100%.
Okay, number 15, The Phantom Menace, Episode 1.
All right. That's not mine, so go ahead and riff.
So, I mean, hey, just like I said with the Marvel movies, there's not a bad one on this list. I say, as I cringe a little bit because it's Episode 1, man. It was different. It's so much different than any of the other Star Wars movies. It has redeeming qualities. It has a cool villain. Darth Maul is a solid character, but like the movie as a whole, it's interesting. It's a little weak as far as grabbing your attention, being kind of the first, like if you're going to watch these movies in chronological order, this would be your introduction. And if they released them in chronological order, I feel like there probably wouldn't be a sequel. Like this story is not good.
Okay, all right. I kind of want to defend it a little bit, and mine's slightly higher. I'm not saying it's top 5 or anything. It's a little bit higher than you have it.
Okay.
So I'll save my defenses for when I jump on and talk about it. But did you have any more thoughts on that?
So I mean, we'll save our Phantom Menace talk for when you're talking about it. Yeah. Because I do have a couple more things to say, like redeeming quality wise, but with it being on the bottom of the list, we'll leave it there. What's your ground floor? What's your bottom of the list?
Yeah. So real quick, I mean, caveat here for the listeners here. I think that we could argue that some of these movies may be better quality than some of the ones I may have higher on the list. I went about this with how these movies and shows make me feel, and when I watch them, and when I look back at my entire life of watching Star Wars, like how did I feel watching it when I first saw it? And so my number 15, I have Solo, and because I guess it's fine, it's a decent enough story, but it was such an unnecessary movie. I feel like I think it might have been better as a Disney Plus show. It's not.
I agree.
It's not bad by any means. I guess I just don't really feel like anybody wanted or needed a Han Solo movie. I like the actor, but I don't like him as Han. I don't think that I feel any resemblance towards Harrison Ford at all with Emile Hirsch, or I don't know how you say his name, but it's just kind of fine. I think Childish Gambino as as help me out here, Lando Calrissian. I think he is unbelievable. I mean,
That was
that
better
scene,
casting. That was better
that
casting than Han. Yeah.
that scene where you first hear him, you don't even see him, you just hear him talking. It sounds just like Billy D. Williams. I mean, it was very impressive. I do like
can
they
act,
have
man.
that. They have that Darth Maul tease at the very end that we probably will just never have a follow up to, which is a little annoying, but it was cool in the moment.
Yeah.
Paul Bettany works as a villain, so I'll give them that. I do like sort of the beginning where you have Han being recruited as a stormtrooper. That was pretty interesting, and then I do like the whole atmosphere that they create there, where everybody's kind of going up and trying to, or not, no, because it was like they're trying to leave the planet, and then he kind of catches the, what is it, like a flyer, join the Empire or something like that, like Empire propaganda. That's pretty cool. So there are some redeeming qualities. I guess I watched it and I was like, all right, this is fine, and that was kind of it. So that's really all I have to say on Solo. That's my number 15.
Okay, so my number 14 is Rogue One, and a lot of what you said about Solo is how I felt about Rogue One, because like the movie, like I did not hate it, I did not love it. I sat there, for 2 hours, whatever, and it came out in a time when I was starving for Star Wars content, and it was all right. It was fine. And then I never watched it again. It only seen it the one time. And we've joked about it 100 times. I do need to see it again. It was very, I want to say it's forgettable, but that's not fair because I've only seen it once. So obviously it's going to be the most forgettable one on the list for me. It did have, I will say this for Rogue One, it did have more of a Star Wars tie-in than Solo did. I mean, Solo had nothing to do with the Jedi, the Death Star. I mean, there was not it was an isolated story, which felt clunky.
Yeah,
especially for Star Wars, because Star Wars is one of those things where like whenever there's a masked character, it's like you're gonna know the face underneath. Like somebody's gonna be related to somebody. Like Star Wars has that vibe, and Solo just felt isolated, I guess. Whereas fair. Rogue One was a little bit more connected.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I didn't expect it to be high on your list because I know you've only seen it the one time.
It wasn't last. It wasn't last though. I'm curious where it's going to fit into your list because I know you like it a lot more than I do.
Pretty high up. Yeah, it's pretty high up. But
yeah.
All right. Well, I guess my number 14. my number 14 is the Bad Batch. Oh man. If our lovely listeners have been with us for a while, you'll know my thoughts on the Bad Batch. But if this is your first time tuning into us, I did like the show. It was fine. It just, there was too many episodes, too much filler, too much side stuff with the Sid missions, and not enough character development outside of Omega. God,
it's so short. Like the episodes are so short for it to be a weekly show that you're in and you're out, and when you get nothing, when you get a filler episode, it's so disappointing.
And when I going into it, I was so excited because we had just come off of Clone Wars season 7, and Clone Wars season 7 was 10 episodes. And what were there, like 2, maybe 3?
I think it was 3 stories of 4 episodes per, and they were all great. They all could have been feature-length movies. They're just so good.
Exactly. It all connect. Yeah, because there's the Ahsoka on Coruscant. There's the introduction of the Bad Batch, and then there's the Ahsoka and Darth Maul and all that stuff. And so I was expecting that in the Bad Batch, and that's just not what we got. Now, having said that, there are some redeeming qualities. I did like Omega, and hope that we will see more of her, not just in season 2 of Bad Batch, but in the greater Star Wars universe. Maybe even a pop-up in Book of Boba Fett. We'll see. I don't know. Probably not, but that would be a lot of fun. The Cad Bane episode was so much fun. Fennec was cool to see, but then of course, Fennec was only in it for 2 episodes. Like I thought we'd see much more of her. Didn't. God, the season finale was so underwhelming. I don't know. It's fine. It's good. It's just the way that we consumed it was just probably not the right way. I think that if you haven't seen it, you should catch it. Just binge through it, especially if you like Clone Wars and Bad and Rebels. But yeah, the way we consumed it was not conducive to enjoying it completely, I think.
Yep. Yep. I agree. I agree. And it's my number 13. So
Okay.
I mean it belongs towards the bottom of the list for all those reasons. I mean it is what it is, man. It's okay. It's all right. It's some content, but I totally agree with you. The bounty hunter saga or whatever. Anytime they were anywhere close to a bounty hunter or like a character from another property would show up, anytime there was like Rex or Saw Gerrera or like anytime a character that we had seen before showed up, it was great. And then anytime they tried to make like their own path with new characters, it fell so flat. And I really don't think that they established many characters that they are going to continue showcasing in different properties unless it's like Omega. Like I can't see anybody but Omega making it out of this show and being popularized in something else in a different show. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. I guess I think the only final thing I'll say is like they really peaked at that Cad Bane episode and then the follow-up one where Omega gets away. And then
Yeah.
like it had seemed like the show had taken a turn and then they just go back to like what was that one episode with the random guy that was stealing the spices or Roland Durant? It was like
yeah. And they like
so
cut off his
unnecessary.
horn or something. It was so dramatic, but it's like,
Yeah.
why do I care? I've never seen this guy. We'll never see him again. Yeah.
Yeah. It is what it is. Hopefully season 2 learned from the mistakes of season 1 and it's better. But
Yeah.
all right, my 13 is Rise of Skywalker, our first
Okay.
Disney sequel on the list. And these movies get a lot of hate, and I feel like they get more hate than the prequels used to get. Um, I,
I agree.
I don't think it's terrible. It has some redeeming qualities, and when I first watched it in theaters opening night, I was like, man, this is good. Like, I really enjoyed it in the moment, and then I rewatched it, and I was kind of like, it doesn't really hold up as well. And
Well, you're watching it
I
with a much more critical eye after you've
yes,
seen it and after you've consumed it and been present in the theater, and then you take it home and watch it on your couch and like look for details. Like it's a whole different experience.
yeah. So I mean, like the first time I saw it, and they had the whole Rey as a Palpatine story, it was kind of like, oh, I know, no. The first time I saw it, I was like, oh my God, really? Wow. And then when I watched it back, I was kind of like, this is unnecessary. Like
Right.
this doesn't need to, like, we didn't need Palpatine to come back. Like his whole story had been told and he had died, and Anakin's redemption was great and perfect and it ended the way it needed to. And so bringing him back was just so unnecessary. Although Ian McDermott is great and it was cool to see
And
him back,
Palpatine is
but
great. Palpatine is a great character.
it just felt like you didn't need to do this. I really wish that these movies had a plan. Because it felt like they had Force Awakens, and then Last Jedi comes in and is like doesn't really follow up with anything that they had set up in Force Awakens. And so by the time you get to Rise of
Right.
Skywalker, it's like, well, there's stuff that we didn't resolve in Force Awakens, and now Last Jedi did some other things that we didn't
Yeah.
plan on addressing. And so it was just, I don't know. This movie's fine. When they had the whole scene where Rey shoots the lightning and it blows up the ship that Chewie is supposedly on, you're like, oh man, they killed Chewie.
In
And then it
your
reveals that
anger.
yeah, and then it reveals that he's alive, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
that was cool. I'm glad that he's cool. And the fight with Rey and Kylo on
The Death Star
Death
chunks,
Star,
right? Yeah.
that was a lot of fun. That was really cool. Seeing the throne room again was really cool. Kylo's redemption was fun, although I wish he didn't have to die.
Agreed. 100% agreed. It's a bummer that he died because now there's no more story for him. They could have
Yeah,
left that open ended just in case, because I feel like of the characters from the sequel trilogy, he's probably he's probably the most interesting one to me anyway.
absolutely. My favorite one by far. So yeah, it kind of sucks, but that whole scene where he's going on Exegol and he's got the lightsaber, and that was fun. That was fun. It's fine. It's just I think it's the weakest of the sequel trilogy, and it's not necessarily its fault that the first two movies didn't do a better job setting it up. It just kind of feels like a flat way to end the Skywalker saga in a way.
Yeah, I would agree. And I honestly, that has always kind of hit me in a weird way. The fact that this is the last one of the Skywalker saga, because obviously Luke dies in the one previous, and then like Rey at the end of Rise of Skywalker, symbolically claims that she's a Skywalker. I don't know. Maybe that's supposed to be impactful. It isn't to me, and I don't know if it's if I don't know if it's my jaded ass or if it's because they didn't do a good job. Like, I really don't know what to blame it on. I'm just saying it was not impactful. And the yellow lightsaber, I don't care. I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's me or if it's the movies. I don't care.
I like that. Really? I thought that was cool. I thought that was a pretty cool touch. Just because it was different. We'd never seen one on live screen, but then again, it's like you introduce that, you see it, and now you're never going to see it again because this is the end of the saga, and you're probably never going to revisit Rey. So it's like, why even do something like that?
Yeah, and maybe I don't know, because like I have criticized the sequels for not making big moves, but I guess like the death of Kylo Ren and or Ben or whoever, whatever you want to say, and the yellow lightsaber and her claiming to be a Skywalker, those are like the big moves of that movie. But I don't really care about them, and I don't. It just seemed I don't know.
It feels like every big move.
Word.
Seems like every big move they made was divisive. Killing Han, killing Luke, killing Ben. Although, I mean, I get killing Han and Luke and Leia because those are all sort of mentors. It's part of the hero's journey. Your mentor has to die, right? So like, I can excuse that.
And those actors aren't young people. I mean, like, and Carrie Fisher, died in between. What did she die between Force Awakens and Last Jedi? Between 8 and 9, not 7 and 8.
No, 8 and 9. She's in 8 quite a bit.
Right. Okay. So like, I don't know. I don't think I don't think it was a bad idea to kill off major characters from the originals. I think that was honestly, I think it was a good move. I think it was. I would argue that was something better about the sequel trilogy.
Sure. But we don't have to dwell on it. Well, we still have to talk about those two. I still have to talk about those two anyway. But
I'm talking so much about Rise of Skywalker because this is my time to do it. It's my number 12. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely the weakest of the three of the sequel trilogy. I don't know, but like, I don't hate all of it. Like, there are things that I liked in that movie. I like you said, I liked the fight on the Death Star. The fact that the whole movie was kind of this MacGuffin story where they're chasing after this key that leads to Exegol, which is something that's never been addressed. A Sith homeworld, like, we don't know anything about it. We didn't learn anything about it. It just exists now. Like, it's a little weird. I remember in the theater thinking during the scene where Rey is confronting Palpatine, I remember like looking at the backgrounds and like seeing like the crowd or whatever in this arena on Exegol, and I'm like, who the hell are these people? Like, I don't understand any of this. They haven't I have 100 questions and no answers because they're like, all of this is just supposed to be a spectacle, and I'm supposed to sit down, shut up, and just like take it, I guess. It's like, I don't understand the stakes here. Are they gonna like come and fight Rey? Like, what function do these? Are they ghosts? Are they people? Are they Sith? Are they?
They're supposed to be
they're supposed
to be the souls of all of the previous Sith.
So what? That's like Sith Force ghosts, I guess, would be a weird.
I guess if you want to call it that, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying they did a good job explaining that.
Yeah.
They didn't. Because if you're the first time you see that, you're sitting there, you're like, the hell is all this going on right now? And it is what it is. But that's the intention, is that they're on Exegol. It's supposed to be the souls of all of the former Sith knights or whatever they call themselves. I don't know.
Right. Sith Lords.
Yeah, I do like. I will say, but my last thoughts, I guess, on Rise of Skywalker. I do like the moment where all of the Jedi are talking to her. You know, because you get Hayden Christensen back, Obi-Wan's back.
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka's is in there. Kanan and Jarrus is in there. Ezra's in
Mm-hmm.
there. Mace Windu, Luke, Yoda, Qui-Gon. Even, I mean, that was a really cool moment. And
Mm-hmm.
I do like the long have I waited. I say that all the time. I don't know why. I really wish there was a gift for that.
I love that.
line so much. Oh,
Yeah.
I love Palpatine, even though I didn't
Yeah.
want him back. It is what it is.
So, I mean, that was, Kylo, or Ben rather, realizing what he needs to do and showing up on Exegol, probably the best scene in the movie, right? I mean, that's probably the biggest strength of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the war, quote unquote, all of the risen from Exegol ships fighting the rebellion or the resistance. It was all right. That part of it was just kind of okay.
Yeah, I do like the ships too that they had, because they had like the old Naboo ship. They had the ship from Rebels. It pops up in there. There's just a lot of like cool Easter egg ship. Yeah, it's like it's definitely a blink and you miss it moment, but you'll have to look it up. I don't remember. We spent a lot of time talking about Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. Let's move on. What's your number 12?
Here's where we get to Phantom Menace. So
okay.
All right. I get it, folks. I get it. Phantom Menace has its problems, right?
Yeah.
It is an imperfect movie to say the least. But like I said 15 or so minutes ago, however long it was, I think about how these movies made me feel when I saw them for the first time. And I am, as a 29-year-old man, a 90s baby. And I was 5 or 6, depending on what month this came out in theaters, when it came out in 1999. And you couldn't tell me nothing, man. I loved this movie when I was a kid, and I had all of the action figures. I watched this movie I don't know how many times. I had toy lightsabers. I mean, it wasn't the first bit of Star Wars. I'd seen I think the all of the original trilogy before I saw this, but this was my like first brand new Star Wars content ever, right? So, man, I loved it, and yes, it has its problems, but tell me it's a bad movie without saying the words Jar Jar Binks, okay? Because I feel like that's not the only. That's the biggest gripe that people have is Jar Jar Binks. Because I get it, there are some boring slow moments, but a lot of those boring slow moments are really the politics of the galaxy, and that is what helps Palpatine come into power, right? So they are important, they are essential, they are necessary. And there are some other problems. I mean, little kid Anakin is not necessarily likable. I wish that they didn't introduce so many great characters and then kind of kill them off and never see them again, like Qui-Gon, Darth Maul. But we get our first shot of Mace Windu. You get to see some beautiful spots like Naboo and Coruscant, and getting to see the Jedi for the first time, and the whole council, and Yoda's back, and younger Obi-Wan, and all of those things are so much fun. And the pod race is one of the coolest scenes I think in all of Star Wars, at least action wise. And then the final battle on Naboo, everything that's going on. You've got the Gungans and the droids, and you've got Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and Darth Maul with this amazing choreographed lightsaber fight, and Anakin's up in space with all these pilots, and they're shooting down this ship, and Padme and all of them are going up on the fight. I mean, there's so much going on. And I feel like this movie gets more hate than it deserves. Is it perfect? No. It's my third movie up on the list, but it has more redeeming qualities than people give it credit for. And plus the Gungan area underwater is really cool too. It's it's visually a pretty cool movie.
Yeah. Do you want to defend Boss Nass?
Oh god. No, I don't. But
no. So like, and you touched on a little bit with the toys, because they went hard for episode one toys, because the toys, you know, in the 70s and 80s were such collector's items. They were so beloved that they just made everything Star Wars. And that's honestly, when I think back to like 1999 and Star Wars episode one and all that, like I remember like I don't know if they were like Burger King or McDonald's cups with I had cups with them. I had like little kid like plasticky plates with episode one on them. I never had lightsabers. My mom never let me have lightsabers because she thought that I would hit my little sister with them, so she never bought me like she never bought me like phony weapons. But I had like the Droids versus Gungans set with like the ball launcher toy.
Yeah.
Man, there was a board game. I'm pretty sure I have a Star Wars episode one board game and I don't know how to play it. There was so much cool shit when Star Wars episode one came out.
Did you ever have so you know the comm link that Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon talk into?
Yeah.
So they had that, but it was like a big thing. And then so you buy it by itself, and then when you bought the action figures, they had this like chip that you could stand them on, and then you'd swipe the chip across that bigger comm link, and it would quote that character from the movies.
Space age technology, unreal.
It was
for a kid. Hell yeah.
Yeah, man. And I had that, and I don't know how many of those action figures I had, and they came with the lightsabers, and you could take the saber off of the handle, and you could switch them around. So you could take Obi-Wan's, you can give him a green one, or you could give him a red one. Oh my God, man, they were sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my number 12. I still watch it. I still like it. I get it. It's the weakest of the sequels, or not the sequel, the prequels. But it's a nostalgic thing for me. You know, it's a childhood thing. It's a sentimental pick.
Yeah, all Star Wars is Star Wars, and I don't skip it when I'm watching back through all of them. You know, I mean, I pay my respects to it. I go and I visit episode one, and I relive it, and I remember, and I was like, man, that sucks. That's great. That sucks. That's great. You know, I mean, there's good things and bad things. Yeah, about these movies that are lower on this list, and that one is it's an interesting time capsule. You know, what's really weird is I think that if Attack of the Clones would have been episode one, and then they could have like strung together something for episode two that has to do with the Clone Wars, like if it would have been Star Wars episode two, the Clone Wars, and then Revenge of the Sith, I think that would have been a cleaner trilogy. Yeah. And then they could have made a prequel to episode one. I don't know, hopefully not call it episode 0, but just like have like Star Wars Origins or something, like Star Wars Anakin or something, and it would have been more successful. I just don't think it really it's hard to make this one fit because it's so unlike all of the other movies.
That's a really good point, because I will say that it is entirely unnecessary to go back to kid Anakin. Like if episode 2 would have been episode 1, and like a lot of what we got in the show Clone Wars had been episode 2, maybe you get to see more General Grievous, because I'll get to my gripes on that when we talk about Revenge of the Sith. But there's so much, like I'll save my thoughts on that for when we get to Attack of the Clones, because I think that there's so much that they could have done with those.
I want to talk about Anakin so much, but we shouldn't yet.
Okay, we'll get there. Let's move on.
I'm sorry. I take that back. Is it my turn for number?
You're number 11.
11. Perfect.
Yeah.
Attack of the Clones.
Right.
So if Attack of the Clones had been the first prequel, I feel like our introduction to Anakin Skywalker as a Jedi would have been more natural, because like in episode 2, in episode 1, he's just a kid. He has a kid personality. He has child energy. He's 100% innocent because he is a kid. I think if our first introduction to Anakin would have been like this feelings heavy mood, I mean that's what he is. I mean that's exactly what he is, but it works. He does such a good job of being this like broken, like angry Jedi, they could have. I just think it would have functioned as a first prequel a lot better than the first one would have.
Right, because you could have shown flashbacks of him as a slave. Because that
Mm-hmm.
essentially is all episode one really does, is establish that Anakin comes from a slavery, and he becomes from this. All he has is his mom, and he was too. By the time that he actually does join the Jedi's, he was too old, and
Mm-hmm.
so because of that, he's already formed attachment, and that's kind of why he goes on to fall so in love with Padme and have all those other issues and become Darth Vader. And so, like, that's what episode one does so well, is establish where he comes from. But you could have done that in just quick flashbacks, right? You didn't need a whole plot on Tatooine to really establish that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I agree.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have Attack of the Clones pretty high, so I'll let you talk about.
Okay. What else we need to talk about Attack of the Clones, man? I mean, the all-out Jedi War on Geonosis, super cool. Introduction of Count Dooku. Count Dooku is a freaking awesome character. I love his lightsaber is so. I think if I were to get like a replica lightsaber, it would probably be Dooku's.
Dooku's is dope.
It's so cool. Boba Fett, Jango Fett. That one's a little weird to me. I don't think that needed to be in the prequels. I don't hate it. I just think it was odd, I guess.
It's kind of essential though, because that's where they get the DNA for the clones. Is Jango.
True. Yeah. I don't know. It's just not a it's part of the. I don't know. It's. I feel like I have a gripe in here, but I don't know how to phrase it. You know what I mean? Like it's not. It's not. It's essential to the plot, but it's not the point of the movie, I guess. So like I don't think about it until I'm watching the movie. You know what I mean? Like whenever I think about episode 2, I don't think about Jango Fett. Like I forget on the surface level, at least, I forget about Jango Fett. And I feel maybe he could have been in it more or not at all, and it would have been better.
Yeah, I mean, he really only is in it to establish that they got his DNA from the clones.
And to have kind of a spectacle fight with Obi-Wan, which was okay. It's fine. It's not, I'm not trying to hate on that, but like, I don't know, maybe he could have been more important to the overall story. I don't know.
I think that's where I think we'll disagree, because I think that he's in there the right amount. I think he is.
Okay.
I don't think he needed more of him. It does suck that he died. Like, I think that if he hadn't died and they could have explored him a bit more in episode 3, or even, allowed him to have his own spinoff, I think that would have worked out pretty well too. But I thought he was in there the right amount, because you're right. The movie's not about him. It's about the beginning of the Clone Wars, and he's essential to that. But it is cool to see the beginnings of Boba Fett as well. And, he gets expanded on a little bit more in Clone Wars, the show. But
I like his episodes of Clone Wars. I really enjoyed those. I think it would be cool to see Boba Fett in between prequels and original trilogy somewhere. Like,
could be fun.
I mean, did they name? Yeah, they name dropped him in Bad Batch. I think that they should just go ahead and.
I think so.
Yeah, they should just have him in Bad Batch.
And I thought he would be in Bad Batch. I thought that we might see a spot of him. So that's kind of like early on in the show Bad Batch. I was expecting Omega to potentially be in Book of Boba Fett. But since they never followed up with that and her ties to Finnick and all that, I'm kind of thinking that's not going to happen now. Because it would just not make sense, because they never had an interaction. I thought that they would, and it is what it is.
Right.
You never know, man. I mean, maybe we'll see some flashback scenes in Book of Boba Fett. We don't really know what to expect with that. So
I think it'd be a cool character opportunity for both of them, right? Because I mean, they could easily have this like estranged brother-sister relationship, just because of who they are.
Yeah, I think, and that's kind of what I was expecting. When Finnick had that episode, I was kind of like, maybe we'll see Boba pop up, and then we'll see him meet Finnick, and who knows what happens from there. And then they just didn't. So we'll see though. We'll see. We're kind of off topic though. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
any
Go ahead
more?
with your. No, not really.
Okay.
We'll talk
All right.
about more when you want to talk about it. What's number 11 for you?
I've got Rebels, and
Wow, that's lower than I thought it was going to be.
yeah, and I'll be careful with what I say because you haven't finished it, which is a little concerning because you haven't said it yet. So
I'm sorry. Yeah,
so high on your list.
it's
It is really really good though.
hmm
For an animated show that is talking about characters that we had not known or heard of up until it comes out, it's really really well done. I mean, it's like it's as close to Clone Wars quality as you could probably get, although Bad Batch is more the same animation style. There's a slight difference. So like one of my big gripes with Rebels is the lightsabers are so thin
yeah.
and it
It's a
just
weird
looks a
art
little weird.
style.
Yeah. But the art isn't bad outside of that. I think that they just did a really good job of introducing a lot of really likable characters. Ezra's whole story is a lot of fun. They brought in Kanan Jarrus, and him acting as both a mentor to Ezra, but also a guy that was not a completed trained Jedi Knight. So
That's
he's
actually
still
my
learning.
favorite characteristic of Kanan is that
Yeah,
he was a Padawan and then the Jedi were wiped out. So he's had to
yeah,
teach himself. So I really like that part of Kanan.
yeah. So his whole story is a lot of fun to watch. Hera is a really likable character. Sabine is a really likable character, and then you bring in people that we had known from Clone Wars. Ahsoka gets to come back in the show. You see more Bo-Katan. Darth Maul
Mhm.
comes back around. His fight with Obi-Wan is, or that whole episode really is one of the better episodes in the whole show. And adding a villain. Have you seen Thrawn yet?
No, not yet.
No. Okay, so adding a villain like Thrawn and just how like
I'm
diabolical and menacing.
halfway through season 2, so they're still playing up the Inquisitors. They defeated the first one from season 1. I don't remember how, it's been a little while, but now there are 2 more that have cropped up. They have the same like spinning double-sided
Yeah,
lightsaber, and
yeah.
one of them's male, one of them's female, but I don't know anything about them just yet. And then what? Oh, what's his name? Callus, is that right, or is that Bad Batch? Agent Callus. He's got like
Man,
big giant fat sideburns. He's an Imperial.
it's been a while since I've seen it. I mean, I was getting ready to say I haven't
I think
seen this
Callus
in a
is
while.
Rebels.
I haven't seen this in a while, so it's probably also why it's so low because I've only watched through it once, and I
Mm-hmm.
haven't revisited it, so I don't remember a lot of the storylines. Callus sounds right. Sounds like he is a Rebels character, um, but yeah, I think that this show might be a bit higher on my list if I watch through it again. I do think very highly of it, and there's a lot of really strong moments. The Ahsoka Vader fight is so good. Her
Mm-hmm.
line, well, I don't want to. I really wish you've seen it.
I'm gonna pick up the speed on that one because I really want to get through it.
You do need to you do need to see this because there are some characters from this that will be in Ahsoka.
I just watched
Um,
a Hondo Onaka episode the other night.
he's in it. Yeah, he's in
It's so good.
his relationship with Ezra is great too. So I I,
Hmm
I think very highly of Rebels. I think everybody that loves Star Wars should take a bit of time to watch it. It's 4 seasons. It's really easy to get through. Hint hint.
hmm
And it's a good show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So where are we at? Is it my turn for
Your turn for
10?
10. Yep.
Okay, I have Clone Wars for my number
Okay.
10. Clone Wars, very entertaining show. A lot of filler, a lot of R2D2 C3PO arcs, a lot of slow episodes with like Padme and the political side of things. But as a show, it did a really really good job. The voice actors for the characters from the prequels, I feel like are perfect. I mean, I know that it's not original cast, but like everybody's so great. Like all the voice acting is so good in that show, and the art gets better as the show goes on. Season 7 has outstanding artwork. I mean, it's next level. It keeps the style, and then it like things look like they have textures. It's so good. And I could rewatch season 7 any day. Like I could watch the entire season in one sitting anytime. I love it so much.
Yeah, I do love Clone Wars a lot. It's coming up, so I'll save my thoughts here in a bit, but
Okay.
it's pretty accurately placed.
Yeah.
I'll go with my number 10 is The Last Jedi.
Okay.
This is another one, man. I think this is the one that people hate the most. And I'll say this. When I watched it in theaters, opening night, I had gotten through it. I thought that it would be my favorite one. It just
okay.
so happens that every time I've watched it since, I like it just a little bit less, unfortunately. And it's funny too, because the first time I was watching it, I was sitting in the theater, and the first like 40 minutes, I was kind of like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm enjoying this, because there's the whole stuff with Poe Dameron. He's like talking to what's the guy? Hux, is that his name? General Hux. He's like tongue in cheek talking to him, and I was just like, man, I don't. This just feels really Disney to me. And then just somewhere along the way, man, it just picked up, and I was really into it. I was hooked. I know people have complaints about Luke and his whole character and that, and I don't have a big of a problem with it. You know, he's a guy that, as we learn, was training Kylo or Ben, and that didn't work out, and so he felt responsible for creating another dark Sith type figure, and he wanted to live in seclusion and became a hermit, and I think that makes sense. So I didn't have a problem with that at all.
I agree. I think that's a fair, when you look at Luke Skywalker as a character, I feel like that's a fair reaction for that character to have, is to just seclude yourself and isolate yourself from everybody else and not do anything, become this weird hermit. Like that is a Luke Skywalker-esque reaction, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, I think all of the stuff with Rey and Luke is fun. I don't like Holdo. Her character is just really, really annoying, and I don't understand why she wouldn't tell. When Leia is injured and the woman that takes over, that's her name, right? Holdo, Captain Holdo.
Oh yeah. Laura Dern from Jurassic Park. I totally forgot she was in the movie.
Yeah, her character is just annoying. It's like, why aren't you telling people what the plan is? If you had told people what the plan is, Finn and Rose wouldn't have had to go off and get into all this trouble, and then they end up getting caught, and then they have to find a way out. It's like, this was all unnecessary. If you would have just said, "Hey, listen, we're buying time. We have some pods. We're going to go to this secret base we've had for a long time. We're just going to camp out there until we get some help." And cool, we're good. We'll just chill.
Yeah.
It's like they did it because they had to do it. It just didn't make sense. But again, we talked about with Rise of Skywalker. Kylo's character is great in this. I think this is probably his best performance. Adam Driver, that is. And all the stuff with him and Rey is top notch. The scene where he kills Snoke, I had no problems with that. I know people had a big issue with killing Snoke so early. I didn't care. I thought that scene was great. Watching them fight the guards was a lot of fun. And then of course he's still not. They saved the turn for later, which I like. So redeeming qualities, not the worst Star Wars movie by any means, but definitely not the best.
So it's been a little bit. What was it, the Snoke thing, or was it the characterization of Luke that like people were the most mad about, would you say, online? Because there was so much hate. Like, this movie probably got more hate than any like mainstream movie that I've ever seen.
I was shocked at how much hate that movie got. I would say people were probably more upset about Luke, since he's such an iconic character. But people were definitely upset about Snoke. I mean, people were mad about that, and I guess I can see it. You introduce this villain, And then of course, like you fall back and you go right back to Palpatine. So it's like they took the lazy way out instead of
I
just
agree.
establishing
Yeah.
a new villain. But
Hmm.
what would they have done otherwise? Would Ben have turned on Snoke in episode 9 and then it's like you just carbon copied, you just did a
Yeah.
copycat job of Vader turning on Emperor?
True.
Like,
Yeah. I guess
you know what
that's
I mean?
true.
So
Yeah, I
I
was
didn't have a
very
problem with
curious
it.
about Snoke, but I didn't know where the hell that was going to go. So I wasn't disappointed when it happened, but like it does seem like a missed opportunity that they could have written a character for Snoke and not had Palpatine be the end
Yeah.
big bad at the end, you know?
Yeah, I think one of the problems is Force Awakens came out and it set up a lot of possibility, like who is
Hmm.
Rey, what's going on with Snoke, is Finn a Force user? Like there were so many things that people were kind of like Monday morning quarterbacking,
Yeah,
and then when they didn't get what their predictions were, they were mad about it. And it's like
that's
that's on
silly.
you. That's on
That's
you. It's
absolutely on you. Yeah.
yeah. So I like The Last Jedi. It's fine. Like I said, I kind of like it a little less every time I watch it, but it has its moments.
Hmm. The thing with Last Jedi that I always remember, like my least favorite part about Last Jedi is a Luke thing, but I was pretty pleased with the bulk of the Luke stuff
Yeah.
in the movie. My least favorite part is when all of the I want to call them AT-ATs, but they're not at that point. They're the walkers, the Imperial, or I'm not even sure, the First Order walkers, whatever, are firing at the what they don't realize is a hologram Luke. And then he goes, brushes the dust off his shoulder. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
that sucks. That is not. That's the
Yeah.
only
That was bad.
characterization of Luke that I thought was like, that's not Luke. He wouldn't do that. That's dumb.
That was bad. But I will say everything else outside of that, him showing up and walking out and having the interaction with Kylo and Kylo getting so mad that he's there. And
Hmm.
especially at this point now, that Luke had tried to train Ben and it didn't work
Yeah.
out. And so like you feel that anger and that hatred and
Hmm.
it's a perfect characterization of a Sith, right? So it like that
Yeah.
was so well done. But I agree, the brushing your shoulder, that was really bad. So
Yeah.
oh, and shout out Yoda as well. That was really fun. I didn't expect that. That was really
Yes.
fun.
Oh my God. Yes.
That was
That's
fun.
probably like as far as dialogue goes, the lines between Luke and Force Ghost Yoda in this movie, probably the best lines in the entire movie,
Yeah, that
where
was
they
really
talk
well
about
done.
failure. Yeah.
Yep. True
So good.
surprise, great character moment, good fan service. That was a
Hmm.
lot of fun. All
I
right,
was gonna
let's move on
say
though. Oh,
also, well, see, I'm trying to move on, but also my next one is Last Jedi. My number
well
9
then
is Last Jedi.
going, man.
So I don't know about you, but when I was another impactful moment when I was seeing it in theaters on opening night was the silent scene in space where Holdo flies the ship through oh man, that was like just because of the shift from like it being a loud scene and then completely silent and then you just see it happen and it's just you kind of hear everybody's like muffled reaction because how could you not? You're in a silent movie theater. You just hear like a little bit of
Yeah,
that was a really cool moment. That was a good moment for them to have like no sound at all. It was very memorable for me.
that was really good filmmaking right there. I've seen a lot of people
Hmm.
complain about that scene though.
Oh,
I've seen
why?
people
I think that's perfect.
because they say that you're not supposed to be able to aim while you're in light speed, and so that's like a 1 in a million shot of her actually being able to do that. And
So,
I
okay,
mean,
those
I'm not
people
going to make
are
someone else's argument for them. But I
those
don't
people
agree
want
with it.
those people want sci-fi. This is science fantasy.
Yeah, right.
You know
Yeah,
what I
right.
mean? This is a different thing.
Yeah. So it is what it is. I mean, I agree with you. I'm not going to make their argument for them. I don't
Yeah.
remember the exact thing. I've seen people complain about it. It's just like people just that's the thing about Star Wars is people nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans. I feel
True. Oh my
like.
God, true. Yeah.
And people remember how much they love the original trilogy for a good reason. They're at the top of my list, but
Hmm.
it's like you're not going to recreate that. Those movies were lightning in a bottle, and I'm just glad that we have so many things we can talk about and enjoy.
Yeah, I think the most laughable like internet hate thing that happened after this movie was the camp that came out and be like, no, we got to wipe this out of the Star Wars canon. This isn't canon. This is Legends or whatever. And then we're gonna redo the sequel trilogy, and we're gonna get we're gonna do a petition. It's like, guys, like that's not how this works. You don't get to protest art.
Right. Yeah. Sorry you didn't get exactly what you wanted.
Yeah.
You're a bunch of 40-year-old little children is what you sound
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. Just chill out and either enjoy it or don't. And if you don't, maybe rewatch the original trilogy because it ain't going nowhere.
Exactly. So, all right. Well, that was your number 9. I guess I'll do my
Yeah.
number 9.
Yeah.
We'll just jump back and start talking about Clone Wars. So
Okay.
that's what I've got. I think all of the points you made as far as like your gripes are concerned are valid. I mean, those are my biggest complaints is
About
because there
Clone
are
Wars?
yeah. Because there are 7 seasons, there's a lot of filler. And this was on Cartoon Network, right? And so
Mhm.
it's like it was treated like a show on Cartoon Network was. You know, like if you were going to watch Johnny Bravo, there's not a bunch of like continuing stories. It's just you need a certain number of episodes, and so you're going to get some really good arcs, and you're going to get some throwaway episodes. And so, like, yeah, the
Yeah.
stuff with R2 and 3POs, whatever, and the Padme episodes or whatever. Early on, Ahsoka is not very likable, but then she grows into this amazing character and is, I think,
Hmm.
in my top 5 Star Wars characters all time. I would say I love Ahsoka a lot.
Ooh,
I
that would be a fun episode to do.
that
Favorite
would be a fun one.
characters? Ooh.
That
We're
would be
gonna
a
have to
fun
talk
one.
about that.
We all right, we can. Foreshadowing for our listeners.
Yeah.
One of the things I love so much about this is connecting the dots from Attack of the Clones to Revenge of the Sith, and because
Hmm.
you know you touched on it with there's so much time between episode 1 and episode 2, and frankly, there's a lot of time between 2 and 3, and by the time you get to 3, you only have a little bit of Dooku left. So like his entire time in the movies is like bare minimum. General Grievous is like this character that just brought out of nowhere, and you're like, who is this guy? You
Yeah.
know, like why am I supposed to care about him? But they get to
Hmm.
expand on him in this. They get to expand on Dooku in this. They add more depth to Anakin, and you really feel uh, a better explanation of how he turned to the dark side outside of just like it's not fair, you know. So
Yeah.
I think that this show does a lot really well. And then I touched on it earlier. You talked about it too. Season 7 is incredible, almost flawless, especially those last 4 episodes where you have all the Ahsoka stuff and she's got that fight with Maul, and it was very cinematic, felt like a movie. So a few other gripes here and there. I mean, season 6 is kind of unnecessary, but that was the Netflix season. Season 5 is great. That's the whole stuff where Ahsoka is banished from the Jedi Order. I
Yeah.
think this show is great. And I think that this is essential viewing if you're a Star Wars fan. You get more Darth Maul. They introduce Bo-Katan and the whole, what are they called? The Death Watch, those bounty hunters.
Hmm.
Yep, you get all of the Mandalorian backstory where like the actual planet of
Hmm.
Mandalore, and you see like these people are not just all wearing suits; they're like legit people, and
And the
just
dark
it's just
saber. Yeah, the dark saber stuff was really cool.
the dark saber. There's just so many side things that they did and character development things that they did, and seeing more Obi-Wan and seeing more Mace Windu, seeing more of the Jedi that are just kind of faces
Hmm.
in the movies. You know, like
Kit
Mundi
Fisto.
and
Um,
Fisto, Plo Koon, like all these
Plo
characters.
Koon is so cool.
You just get to see so much more of them, and then
Hmm.
it's the ultimate Star Wars fan service. I
Hmm.
think for fans that love those that like the prequels but don't love them. I think that this show makes Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith a lot more enjoyable.
I would agree. I would agree. And I'm someone who did not watch the show when it was on Cartoon Network. I only watched Clone Wars all the way through like last year.
Same.
And I feel like it gave me a new appreciation for the prequels that I kind of needed. I mean, I liked the prequels and didn't love them. And now I do. I really do.
That's exactly how I feel about it. Yeah, I think I've always really liked Revenge of the Sith. I'll get to Attack of the Clones here in a bit. But I think that this made me appreciate both of them a lot more than I did prior to that. So for that, I really appreciate Clone Wars. It's
Yeah,
essential
it
viewing for Star
really
Wars fans.
it like if you have, I feel like if you have feelings about Anakin as a character, whether they're like love him or hate him, you're gonna feel more strongly about that after you watch Clone Wars, because it is like the focus when Anakin is the focus of Clone Wars. I think is when the show is the best, because like I
Yeah,
love Anakin Skywalker. I think he's a great character, and
same.
this show just like it really dives into like, I mean, I know that like in episode 2 and 3 you really get to the point of what turns him, but there's so many things that they don't even talk about in the movies
Yeah,
that happen in the show, you know, his whole marriage has to be secret. His and he you know one of his best, you know, of course he's not supposed to have attachments, but one of his best friends, Ahsoka, you know, the Jedi Order turns on her, and you know, she doesn't accept when they invite her back and everything, and like that kind of stuff has to marinate in Anakin's head during season 3, and you don't, or is season 3 episode 3, and you don't even know about it if you're just watching movies.
exactly. Which is the biggest gripe with the movies is they just kind of assume you know all this stuff, and you
Yeah,
don't, right? And so this really helps all of the stories that you're seeing in those movies and adds a lot more to them. And yeah, I agree. I mean, so like when I was a kid, loved Anakin. As I got older, hated him. I was like, this is a terrible kid. I don't understand this at all. After seeing Clone Wars, love him again. He's one of my absolute
yeah,
favorites. So
yeah,
yeah,
he's the best.
Clone
He's so good.
yeah, Clone Wars. As far as I'm concerned, yeah, if you're a Star Wars fan and you haven't watched it, you're doing yourself a disservice. You should definitely check it out. Just be careful. Tread lightly on those first few seasons. There's a lot of filler.
Yeah, watch them fast or you're gonna stop watching them. Because
Yeah,
I did.
yeah.
I probably watched like the first half of season 1 like 3 or 4 times before I really got into the show. Yeah, like I tried, man.
I did too. Yeah, I by no means did I was I able to coast through it. I would watch a set and I'd stop and I'd come back months later. And it was finally with the pandemic where I was like, I have no excuse. I have
Yeah,
to. I'm just
yeah,
gonna
that was a
finish this.
pandemic show for me too. All
Yeah. So
right,
right
man.
on, man.
Where
Well,
where
let's
where are we at? I'm
you
on. Is it
you
my turn for 8?
yep. Go to 8.
Okay, so here's where I'm getting less confident in my list actually, because I wrote
Okay.
Solo, and now that I'm thinking about it, I think it deserves to be a little lower on the list.
I can't believe it's that high.
So I enjoyed Solo as a movie. As a Star Wars, it kind of falls short, and I'm very surprised I put it in the middle of my list. I enjoyed it in theaters. The casting is fine for Han himself. Just like you said, you know, Donald Glover as Lando is the perfect choice. He's so good. I wish that he would get his own movie. I wish, you know, I want to see more of him so bad.
Well, they're doing a show.
They're doing a show. Is it a
They're
Lando
doing a
show?
Lando show. Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, how have I forgotten about this? I'm so excited now. Does this have like a? Do you know when it comes out?
It's probably I think it's a while. I don't. It's not next year
Okay.
by any means. It's gonna be a
Yeah,
while.
I mean the Star Wars content that I'm looking forward to is Book of Boba Fett, and honestly, I don't know what's next for them. I don't know. I'm sure they have it announced, but I don't know what it is.
I don't. They haven't announced anything. I mean, they have announced shows that they are making, but they haven't announced like release dates for anything, as far as I've seen.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah. And I am excited about Book of Boba Fett, but I am heartbroken there's no Mandalorian this winter.
I know I am too.
We'll
Let's
talk
not
about it. We'll talk about it. Well,
deviate too
Mandalorian's coming
far. You're talking about
out.
solos, so
I'm sorry, Solo. Yeah. I don't know what to say about it. The fights were good. It looked really good. I feel
it
like
did.
they did a good job on the sets and the cinematography and everything. The story is so the story feels not very Star Wars, I guess, and maybe that's just because of a lack of like good and evil Jedi and Sith movie. You know, that's just what this is. You know, it's Solo. Um, the supporting characters were just fine. The Darth Maul stuff, the Darth Maul reveal was pretty cool, and I wish that they could do something with it.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know what it would be, but man, how cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't have I don't have much to say about Solo. Very middle of the road for me. I guess that's why it's in the middle of the list.
Yeah. I think it's honestly fine. I guess I think it's the one thing that you probably just don't need to watch if you're looking to rewatch all Star Wars. I mean, if you're looking to binge Star Wars, you're gonna be doing it for a while if you're doing everything in order, because you talk about Clone Wars and Rebels and all that.
Yeah.
But this is one of the ones that it's kind of like it is good, and I like what you said about the cinematography, because like it and Rogue One, which I'll talk about in a little while, they do look different from the main movies, and I think that that's a positive thing. I think they're
it's like you're watching a standalone movie that isn't Star Wars, or that is Star Wars through a different lens. And I guess especially with Rogue One, because it's all different characters.
It's either it works for you or it doesn't. So that's all right though. That's your number 8. I'll go with my number 8 next, if you're good with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got Force Awakens. So
okay.
Man, this was good, and when it got announced, I'll speak for everybody. I'm sure everybody was so excited. New Star Wars,
more Star Wars. Crap. Hell yeah.
There was some trepidation, right? Because at that point, the prequels were still sort of, they had left the sour taste in everyone's mouth. So it was like, oh man, like, are you gonna further ruin Star Wars? And of course they came out and people don't like them. So
and for a lot of people, the answer to that question is yes.
yeah, unfortunately. But when I watched it in theaters, I was captivated. I thought it was fun. It was modern technology, right? Like by 2015, everything had really advanced to, like, CGI is a lot better, and we have HD now, and just visually everything looks cool. One thing that has always stuck out to me, and it's with the beginning of the movie where Kylo and all them, they go to the planet, and the stormtroopers come out, and it's Finn, and like he gets blood splattered on the stormtrooper helmet or the suit or whatever, and like you had never seen blood in Star Wars. I was like, wow, like it was such a jaw-dropping thing for something so small. It was like, wow, this is gritty, this is cool, this is different. And man, like we talked about Kylo already, what a great, cool new villain. Adam Driver is phenomenal. I thought Rey was charming and likable. I really liked Daisy Ridley, and I really wish that they had done a better job of carrying that character through the 3 movies, because I think that as good as she was, this isn't a knock on Daisy Ridley at all, but as good as she was, like, that character could have been handled a lot better.
I honestly feel that way about most of the new characters that the sequel trilogy added. Like, I like them. I wish they had done more for them to establish them in a better way, and also bonded them better. I feel like Rey and Finn get a bond in Force Awakens, and then the rest of the relationships are just kind of lacking.
Right. Well, because there was the whole like romance aspect of Finn and Rey, and so it was like they're setting this up to where these two are going to end together. And so when you get all the way to Rise of Skywalker and Rey kisses Kylo, you're like, what? Like it's so out of left field, and so weird. And that Finn goes on to have this like weird friendship with Rose where she likes him, but then he doesn't like her. It's like there was no plan for these movies, and they had set everything up to have a pretty interesting story with Force Awakens, and it just was not followed at all.
Yeah.
And so that is unfortunate. I will also say this movie is basically A New Hope. I mean, it is.
Yeah, there's no secret there.
It is almost exactly A New Hope. I mean, there's do you have a trash compactor? It's like which was a fun nod. It was a fun weekend nod, but I don't know. There's a lot to like here. There's some fun character moments. It's definitely my favorite of the sequels. I just wish that they would have done better with everything coming after it.
Yeah, I don't fault it for being kind of the same story as the original Star Wars. Like I kind of get it. Like it's the structure of a trilogy needs a strong beginning, and what stronger beginning than A New Hope, right? For inspiration. Like, you need a character that knows nothing about the Force. You need a protagonist that is learning alongside the audience. You need to impactfully show the scale, like the size of the bad guys compared to the good guys. You need that First Order is overwhelmingly powerful when compared to the Resistance, just like in the original. You need to know that the Empire is so much larger than the Rebellion. Like, I get it, and I think it's very enjoyable. I guess I think that it's different enough to admit that it's extremely an enjoyable movie.
It is different enough, and I don't disagree that all of those things are necessary. Everything you said is absolutely 100% correct, and I've said that to defend it. Like, there's going to have to be some elements that you keep. I think the biggest thing is she doesn't have to be from a planet that's all sand, right?
That's true. She doesn't have to be an orphan with nobody. Like, I get that too. Yeah.
They don't have to destroy a Death Star looking thing. Like, they could have done something else for the final battle. You did have to kill Han. That's part of a hero's journey, is you have to kill the mentor. So I'm okay with that. But it kind of happens at the same point that Ben dies so it's like on this Death Star type thing. So it a lot of this is needed, but they could have just told it differently, and fun side story too for the listeners. We talked about this before we hopped on. I've told you this story a few times. But one of my biggest gripes with this movie, it's not even this movie's fault. It's the fault of you bastards that like to spoil things online, because I was doom scrolling on Facebook. I think that I didn't see this immediately in theaters. I think I waited and watched it on Christmas Day. So it had been out for a few weeks. But I was just doom scrolling on Facebook, minding my own business. I saw a post from the NFL, a football post. Clicked on the comments to read the comments, and the fourth comment in was Han Solo dies. And so unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's on me if I'm looking up Star Wars stuff 2 weeks after a movie had come out. That's fair. But for it to be on a football post, you all could go to hell. I'm just don't spoil things online.
That's a troll. That's a freaking hardcore troll right there.
That's a troll. Yeah. So fun side story. Just don't spoil things for people, folks. Let them enjoy things.
Yeah. But also if you clicked on comments for an NFL post, there probably would have been like 800 people that had to have liked that for you to have seen it. So there's also 800 other trolls that are like, we ruined the thing for you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, again, if I had clicked on a Star Wars post talking about, hey, thoughts on Force Awakens, that's on me, 100%, right? No, no way around it.
This is exploring this tangent even further, but I gotta say it because it's hilarious. I hate quote unquote news stories that are like, you won't believe when spoiler does this, and then it's a picture of the character that is the spoiler. It's like, you just gave away all of it, and then you click on it and you start reading the article, and like the article is the title. That's the same. It's like two paragraphs of the same information that is the title. It's like, how is this news?
Yeah, you gotta keep it moving when you see stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right, we've deviated. Go ahead and give us your number 7.
Number 7, I have Star Wars Rebels. I have seen a season and a half of Star Wars Rebels, which seems like way too little of it to put it where I did. But I'm really enjoying it. I think that the characterization is really good. The music is really, really good in this show. I would say that the music is better than, if we're talking just music, it's better than Clone Wars and Bad Batch, probably not better than Mandalorian. I really, really enjoy kind of the hopeful little Force sounds that they have every time Ezra tries to use the Force, the little da-da-da, like, I love it. It's so good. And Kanan is great. I love him as the the reluctant at times mentor. I love. I know you're making all these faces. I don't know what happens.
People that have seen Rebels saw that face and they're laughing their asses off.
So like, and then there are also so there are characters like Sabine. Like I feel like I don't know anything about Sabine, and I've been watching the show for a season and a half. They really need to dive into her character more. I feel like they're gonna do it. I just don't know anything about her. I know a little bit about is it Hera, the pilot?
Yes.
I know very, very little about her. Who else is there? Zeb. I feel like I don't know a whole lot about Zeb either, but I love Zeb and Ezra's bond. The villains have been okay. I know Thrawn's coming. I'm very excited to meet Thrawn. The Inquisitors have been all right. I roll my eyes at their lightsaber. I don't like the lightsabers in general in the show, except I do really like Ezra's lightsaber that is also a blaster. I think it's genius. I think it's super
Isn't
cool.
that
It kind of looks
awesome?
like
Yeah.
it kind of looks like a staple gun. It looks a little weird, but like the idea of it is super cool.
It is cool. It's a bit of a spoiler. It doesn't last very long, but while it's there,
Really?
it's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Does he? Well, I won't ask because I don't
No,
want to know.
watch the damn show. God.
I'm so sorry.
I have a massive issue with your last two spots because like you haven't even finished Rebels. How is it so high?
Well, I had to place it
so
somewhere. Okay, so actually, what I should say about Solo was the very last one that I placed. Like I had all of these movies set out and I was confident about where I put them, and then I had Solo in my hand and I was like honestly, Solo and Rogue One feel like they don't fit on this list, but I placed Rogue One more confidently just because I've seen it once. I just don't really know a whole lot to say about it. Solo I remember liking quite a bit in theaters. I don't know if I've watched it since then. And so I'm just like placing it as like, do I like it more than The Last Jedi? Do I like it less than Return of the Jedi? I just don't know where to place it. So I put it like middle of the list.
Hey man, it's your list.
I know.
It's cool. I'm not, it's whatever. I put Solo where you want to put Solo. I just find it weird you have Rebels so high.
I'm enjoying it.
You haven't finished it. Because like, what is it? Because here's the thing with it is you're gonna finish it, and it's like, is that gonna make it go higher? Is it gonna make it go lower? Like,
maybe. I mean, we talked about it a little bit when we were talking about Loki and What If on our Marvel rankings. Like those are going to get season 2s, so they might make us like them better or worse. Like where I'm at in Rebels, that's where I think I'm going to place it.
What I'll say about that, the difference is we know what Loki season 1 is.
Yeah,
we know what it is. We know what If season 1 is. Like it's complete. They're done. You haven't finished this yet.
I know. But what I'm saying is the content that I've seen from Rebels. If what I have seen of Rebels was all of Rebels, that's where I'd put it.
It's your list.
It's my list. You shut up. It's my list.
I'll respect it. All right. I'll come up next. Man. I'll do number 7.
Yes, please.
My number 7 is Attack of the Clones, which I understand is a lot higher than most people would have it. But similar to Phantom Menace, I was at peak childhood when this movie came out. I mean, I was 9 years old, right? Like that is like the absolute peak of your childhood. And I saw this one in theaters, and I watched this thing 100 times on DVD, and I had all the action figures. And my one of my best friends in elementary school, we would watch this in his basement, and then we'd take our lightsabers and we'd fight each other while we were watching the movie. And I honestly, I think I've seen Attack of the Clones more times than any other Star Wars property.
Wow.
Period. Because I had it on DVD. And because it was the newest one, right? So like when you're a kid, you only care about the newest, latest thing. And there's not much of an appreciation for the older classic stuff. But man, I loved this movie so much as a kid. As I got older, I started to recognize the flaws as a movie. But when you're a kid, you don't care about that stuff, man.
Sure.
The story, and you like the action, and it looks the best at the time, and
Sure.
it was a blast to watch. And we talked about it when you mentioned it. The Obi-Wan Jango fight is great. Seeing Kamino is really fun. As much as I would have loved to have more Dooku, having him on there is awesome.
Mhm.
His lightsaber's the coolest. Yoda coming in and saving
Yeah,
Obi-Wan and
and
Anakin,
fighting for the first time on screen.
seeing him fight for the first time, and just his whole style, and he's flying all over the place, and
Hmm.
that was so much fun. And then Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting Dooku, and Anakin just kind of runs in and he gets thrown to the side, and then Obi-Wan gets taken down and Anakin jumps back. He's got both lightsabers. He's fighting them with both. Like
That's a
they hit
cool
this,
fight.
isn't it right? And the whole
Yeah.
stuff on Geonosis is great.
Hmm.
Um, Even like the beginning with the speeder chase through Coruscant, that's a lot of fun. I had that actually as a Lego. I had the bounty hunters speeder and the one that Anakin used. I had both of those. So
Cool.
yeah, I had a lot of Legos from this show. Seeing the purple lightsaber for the first time, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
There are some gripes. There are definitely some gripes. The dialogue is cringy and awful. A little bit too much of the love story, But as we established, he's a moody teenager, so
Those are kind of
you give it a
necessary
pass.
evils for this movie. Yeah.
Yeah, you give it a pass. Yeah, man, there's a lot to like. There's some gripes. The Anakin killing the Tusken Raiders. Come on, that's a
Oof.
sweet scene.
Yeah, that's a hold on to your seat kind of scene. Because I mean that is I mean that characterizes Anakin really well. I mean, he is this broken, at the root of it, good person that's just been
Yeah,
so wronged and has so much anger.
yeah, and it's warranted, and you totally understand why he turns to the
Yeah.
dark side in the next movie. So
But however, the execution, the lines, the dialogue, the delivery, the whininess, I mean, I get the complaints. I really do.
yeah,
But like, you take a step back, how would you react if your slave mother was killed, and that, I mean, like, I feel like the dialogue in the prequel movies were very maybe like almost Shakespearean in how clunky they are, because it's almost like it's made for a written work, and then you have the actors say the lines, and George Lucas is like, yep, that's what I wrote, that's what's said, yep.
well, and I think he's even come out afterwards and been like, I'm not very good at dialogue, and so no, you're not, George. You have an amazing
Yeah.
imagination, and thank you so
Yes.
much for these movies. We
Yeah.
appreciate you, but you almost ruined the prequels. In some ways, you kind of did.
Yeah,
Because yeah, I
he
mean,
would have
like
benefited with some delegating with the writing, with the actual
the
words. Yeah.
the scenes where Anakin and Padme are talking, and he's like telling her how much he loves her before she's ready to kind of accept that. It sounds kind of possessive and
Oh yeah.
creepy the way that he's talking to her, and it's like if you talk to a woman that way in real life, she would, especially nowadays, she
Hmm.
would want to get as far away from you as possible. If she had
Right, but
feelings for you, it's gone.
and here I'm going to play a devil's advocate too. Padme knows Anakin's coming from a place of passion, and it's their dynamic kind of fills in the blanks, I guess. But yeah, what he's saying is super possessive and weird and creepy.
It's very, yeah. I mean, like she's definitely older than he is at this point. She's been a whole queen. Like
Yeah.
she's a mature person, and I just feel like even if you use that point and say, she knows him, she knows that he's coming from passion. At a certain point, when you cross the line, like it's like, all right, dude, back off.
Yeah. Maybe say less.
Say less. Yeah, say less. Less is more. But it is, it's cool. It's a fun movie. There's a lot to like. Yeah, and I enjoy it. I like it a lot. So I have no qualms with putting it at number 7 on my list.
All right. You ready for my
So,
number 6?
what's your number 6?
I think this one's probably gonna surprise you. Return of the Jedi. Yeah. Yeah, Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. So I kind of surprised myself a little bit about it, but like the more and more I think about it, I feel like this is an honest place to put it. There is a lot about Return of the Jedi that I don't care for, and there's a lot to like, obviously, but I feel like as far as enjoyment, it's my least favorite of the original trilogy, and there are just movies that I would rather watch than Return of the Jedi. So like its ultimate strengths for me is the confrontation between Luke, Darth Vader, and the Emperor. I love all that stuff. What I don't care for is all of the I don't mind the Ewoks, but like they spend so much time with them in the movie that it's just like move on, just move on to something else. And then when they finally do like the speeder bike chases and the like the not I want to call it the Kessel Run, the Millennium Falcon taking out the second Death Star, like that stuff is great. But I'm just like, I wish that there had been more of a focus on other stuff when they were really hardcore focusing on the nights that they spend with the Ewoks.
I don't feel like they spent that much time with the Ewok. I mean,
rewatch it. It's a chunk of time. It's like 20 or 30 minutes that they spend with the Ewoks. Like really, like meter it out. Like it's a lot of time.
I know the Ewoks are divisive, and yeah, there's people that hate them. There's people that are very indifferent. I'm more in the camp that's indifferent, but I can't knock you if that was a real problem for you.
George Lucas had to sell teddy bears. It is what it is. For the sake of Star Wars, George Lucas had to sell teddy bears. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, you had to have some sort of conflict too, because there's the point where they get caught by the Ewoks. I mean, you got to have some sort of thing that they have to overcome kind of halfway through, and so it makes sense in some way. I mean, would you have minded if it was warriors that
I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know what I mean, as opposed to the fact that they're just like little teddy bears.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
It is what it is, I guess. I have mine's coming much later, so
okay.
Unless you have more to say on Return of the Jedi, I'll jump on my number 6.
Yeah, let's go for it. Go for it.
Rogue One.
Okay.
I couldn't believe you had it so low, but I know you've only seen it the one time.
Yeah, I'm a fake fan. I know.
A fake fan. Listen, man, I get it. Like, there's a lot of characters in here that we just don't know. You know, and I'll be honest, I don't even remember the main character's name, the woman.
I have no idea.
And the guy, I don't remember his name either.
There's a droid. There's Forrest Whitaker. There's
Saw Gerrera is great. All right, hold on. Like, I know you're gonna be like, why is it so high? You don't know any of these people's names. It's still a fun freaking movie, and like for a side story, I think that I like so much is that it's so different. Like we talked about a minute ago, that tonally different, visually different. It's a darker story. It's a bit grittier. And yeah, even though these characters are very isolated, you know, they'll have I think it's Andor is his name, or
yes,
is that his name?
Yes. That's one of their names. That's one of the side characters' names.
So he's gonna have his own show. Maybe we'll see the woman pop up in that as well. I don't know, but I don't know. There's a lot to like here. The Vader stuff is great. Seeing him pop up. The hallway scene. There's not a better scene in Star Wars. There's not a better scene in Star Wars than the Vader hallway scene. I see you sitting there smiling, laughing.
Hey,
you're biting your tongue.
It's your list. It's your list.
There's not a better scene. There's not a better action scene in Star Wars than Darth Vader whooping ass on these rebels. He opened up 16 cans of whoop ass. Where are my Stone Cold fans out there that know what I'm talking about? Darth Vader went hard in the paint, son. That was incredible. And because like what we know of Vader now as this like evil, you know, incredible, powerful warrior. And, you know, through the benefits of like a lot of comics and books, we get to see him expanded on and his whole, everything that happened between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope and just like what he was how powerful he was. You don't really see that because of limitations in the original trilogy. So this is
Yeah.
like our window and seeing how powerful Vader actually is.
Yeah.
And so it's really enjoyable for me. Yeah, this movie is a lot of fun, and I get it. It's a spinoff. It's a side thing. It like only barely ties into A New Hope, but it's a lot of fun, and it was. I think that if this wasn't so successful, we wouldn't have Mandalorian. So be
Okay.
grateful that it was so good, because this was the first spin-off side thing that wasn't a part of the main saga. The only bit of Force using is Vader. And so the fact that this is so good and so successful, I think, is the reason why we've had so many more side things, and we'll continue to have more side things for Star Wars.
Yeah. That scene that you're talking about, the Vader scene in Rogue One, also had tremendous shock value, because this was
Yes.
like, I mean, you could have guessed, I would have guessed that you'd never see Darth Vader in an action sequence on screen again. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and that was, when I think of Rogue One, I mean, that is one scene that stands out. Absolutely. That scene, and the scene where they know that the planet's going to explode and there's nothing they can do about it. Like that
Yeah.
scene stands out to me too. And this is coming from somebody who's only seen it once. So like these are like the takeaway scenes, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. That
I honestly, if I watched it one more time right now, it'd probably be higher on my list. You're probably right, but I mean, I just don't remember that much of it.
that's fair. I mean, yeah, that hallway scene is so good. It's so dark because they're putting their hands on the like help
Well, the
us,
only
and like
thing that's lighting the scene at all is the saber,
the
right?
saber. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So it's like
just so
everything's
well
red.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It is a beautiful shot that they did there. So that might be why it's so high. I love that scene so much. But the movie itself is really good. I think for characters that we don't know, they did a good job at making you care about them, even though you knew they were going to die.
Yeah.
Saw Gerrera's cool. That was our first bit of him. So yeah, Rogue One's a good movie, and you should watch it again.
Yes, I will. I promise. Homework. All right.
All right, take us into the
You
top
ready?
five, Jack.
All right, top five. Number five, Force Awakens. Definitely the strongest of the sequel trilogy. I love The Force Awakens. I think it's a great movie. It is a little bit of a carbon copy, as we've said about A New Hope, but I try not to fault it for it, because it's a very enjoyable movie. It's got great dialogue. It's got introductions of great characters. I think that they did such a good job of introducing Kylo Ren, and like just seeing how intimidating he was with the when he comes down to Jakku and he's interrogating all these people, and all the while he's holding a blaster bolt in the air with the Force. That
Really
scene's
cool. Yeah,
unreal. Yeah, and the
they
blood.
did get
Yeah,
creative.
seeing the blood for the first time. That's so cool. It
Yeah,
it
they did
it
get creative with what they could do as far as like force using and things like that. So yeah,
Yeah, well, the sequel trilogy, I just said that they tried not to do anything dramatic and like change everything, but like they did, like they have some force evolution, right? I mean, there are
yeah,
new force tricks. They introduced force healing. They introduced like the telepathic where they could like have a scene where they see one another through the force, and
yeah,
like have scenes in this, like, I don't even know how to really describe it, but they can kind of get a feel of where they're at, what their surroundings are, and then they can like talk to one another as if they're in the room. Up until then, up until that, we had only seen like what Luke and Vader reaching out with the Force and speaking with one another.
yeah.
Um, and then they teleport objects. They do the lightsaber trick where Ben puts the lightsaber behind his head and then Rey pulls it out. Like
It's a cool
they took
scene.
some gambles on cool Force tricks. Um, yeah, I love the Force Awakens. I love Han Solo. I think that his end was dramatic and well done. I'm so sorry that it was spoiled for you, because like it was a jaw dropping moment in the theater. Like, wow, it was so good. They did so good, and it was so heartbreaking. Like, I'm pretty sure I teared up like when that happened,
Uh,
just because like I didn't expect it. I did not expect them to to kill off Han Solo. I figured that he would be like a side character. Like, I guess it makes sense now because he was basically one of the main characters of The Force Awakens. I just thought he'd be
Yeah.
a side character throughout the whole trilogy.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I mean, I have no problems with it. It's a lot of fun. I just wish that they would have had a better vision for the rest of it because I feel like if episodes 8 and 9 were better, this would be better, and I think they all would be so much higher on the list. I think that there was because of the advancement of technology and the interest that people have in Star Wars. If they had somebody like a Kevin Feige who could just sit down and be like,
Yes.
all right, this is what we're doing. This is how we want the story to be told. This is where we want to start. This is where we want to finish. And this is how we're going to flesh all these characters out. We're going to have all this stuff happen. If they had done that, these movies could have been so good. So I don't blame the people that are like, remake them. These aren't canon. This is just a legend thing. I get it. It's not realistic. I just hope that they learn from the mistakes of this, and I don't know if they'll ever do another trilogy, but if they do, hopefully they have a plan and they don't just kind of aimlessly hope for everything to make sense.
Yeah, they should have had Kevin Feige, Jon Favreau, and George Lucas in a room with a giant whiteboard, and they should have figured out the outline of the sequel trilogy. And I think it would.
Well, I don't know if Feige loves Star Wars like that. I'm sure he does, but I use him as an example. Somebody like him, and I would,
yeah,
not to get off too far off onto a tangent, but DC could have done the same thing, right? So it's like,
true.
it's just weird how studios try to copy Marvel, but they didn't do it right. They didn't get the guy that is in charge of it. So it's just
it's just nice to see on screen, like when Kevin Feige in the Marvel universe thinks 10 steps ahead. Like, you don't think about how important that is until you're at that 10th step. You know what I mean? Like, it seems
wow,
silly
all this makes sense.
Exactly. The way that it falls together is so satisfying, and I wish that we had seen that with the Star Wars sequel trilogy.
Same, but again, fortunately, we have all these shows coming out. There are going to be more movies. Hopefully, moving forward, they at least learn from their mistake. And so far, it seems like they have, minus the Bad Batch. All right, man. My number 5, I have Revenge of the Sith. And
all right.
I've always loved this movie, and like I talked about, Clone Wars kind of makes me appreciate it even more, especially with the tie-in as you see, everything that's happening with Clone Wars at the end with Ahsoka, and like you see Obi-Wan is about to go off to fly with Anakin to the ship, right, which is where Revenge of the Sith picks up. So like the tie-in with that was so cool. But talking specifically about Revenge of the Sith, I mean, they started off with a bang, right? Like, I didn't think they'd kill Dooku off at the beginning in the first 15 minutes, and which is a little sad because I wanted to see more of Dooku, but it makes sense knowing what comes in the end. But this is without question the strongest of the prequel trilogy. There's just so much going on between like I said, the beginning with Dooku. There's the whole stuff with Obi-Wan chasing Grievous. You see Anakin's turn to the dark side. That amazing scene of dialogue between the Emperor and Anakin, where they're sitting in the political spot where he's talking about Darth Plagueis.
They're seeing like some sort of weird Cirque du Soleil type.
Is that what it is?
Spectacle? Yeah. Like there's big giant bubbles or what, celestial looking things,
right.
And they're just like, did I ever tell you about Darth Plagueis the Wise? It's like that scene is great. Those lines, amazing.
Such a great scene. Yeah, that's like, as much as we talk about how bad the dialogue was in these movies, that is a strong point for sure. Man, there's just a lot to like. You see Mace fight Palpatine. That's a lot of fun. Seeing Anakin. I mean, that was so because Anakin. It's weird because it's coming, right? Like we had been waiting for it to come, and it's such a satisfying finish to see him cut Mace and then zaps him, throws him out the window.
Unlimited power.
And he's like, I now dub you Darth Vader. And it's like, they've got the music playing. Dun, dun, dun. It's so well done, even though it's coming, it's about to happen. And then they're not done. Like, then you still have Obi-Wan to take on Anakin, Yoda and the Emperor fighting, that is some of the coolest, because they're like Yoda's flying around and the thing is rising up, and that whole, oh my god, yeah.
He
And
has
then
a
the
whole
battle on,
different style. I mean, like they don't actually talk about like lightsaber training a whole lot in any of the movies that I can
nah,
think
at
of right
all,
now.
nothing,
But like
nothing.
think about a young Yoda learning to be a Jedi, and just like having all of these like, you know, 6 foot tall people like
Yeah,
teaching him how to lightsaber fight. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna do like a double front flip over you and go for like that can't be taught. Like Yoda has his own fighting technique, and it's so cool to see.
exactly. Yeah, it's so well done, and like really good acting on the part of whoever's under the. Obviously, that's not Ian McDermott. You know, they've got the hood up, right? But
Doing
like
this, the
he's
action sequences. Yeah,
Yoda's totally CGI. So like the way that they have that
yeah.
shot, like literally all of that obviously is CGI. So the way they have that shot is really well done to make it look so crisp and clean, especially for 2005. You know, I mean that's
Yeah.
it's impressive. And man, I was so excited for this to come out in theaters. It was so satisfying to watch as a kid. Um, I mean, what more can you say about it? It's honestly it's a really really good movie.
Okay. And it is my number 4. So I'm
Cool.
gonna steal it from you.
Go ahead,
So
take the rock.
what actually I say I'm gonna steal it from you, but I'm actually gonna ask you a question. What what is your favorite part? What's your favorite scene or part of Revenge of the Sith?
It's got to be the battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Just that battle in general?
The whole thing. I mean that. I mean, God, between with Battle of the Heroes playing in the background and just
Yeah.
how like they're flying on cables and you know
Lava
high ground.
everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, it's so good. I mean,
Two
the
is
CGI
is it the
doesn't
first
age that
time
well, but
is it the first time we see two blue lightsabers fighting one
I
another?
think
Because
so.
like it's always blue and red or green and red, and
I think
this
so.
is two Jedi fighting one another. How cool!
That that was one thing that I was a little upset about. I was really kind of hoping that they would have given Anakin a red saber, but they didn't.
Right when he turned, you mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that could have been a cool symbolic, like here's, you know, like Palpatine giving him
yeah,
this is the Emperor's, you know, lightsaber or whatever, and that's
yeah,
now the Darth Vader lightsaber. That would have been kind
yeah.
of neat. Yeah, I would say, and the reason I ask is because I have one prepared. I love the sequences between. Let me think. It's it's after Order 66. It's after, you know, Anakin is Darth Vader, and they go through, you know, the basically the takeover, the coup, the Empire coup, and like
Yeah.
everything's silent, and Padme can kind of feel that something's wrong, and Obi-Wan goes and visits her, and they have a short dialogue where it's like Anakin killed younglings and all this. Like, oh man, all of those scenes, like just seeing. I think during this, Anakin shows up on Mustafar, and
Yeah.
man, it's so good. It's
They
like
also they show Yoda like bit by bit getting more and more sad. He's like clutching his heart.
sensing
That's really well
the
done. Yeah,
disturbance. Yeah, the ultimate disturbance in the Force. Yeah.
that was really well done. Yeah, I it's also the home of one of my favorite memes, and it's a very niche meme because it ties in Star Wars and Joe Rogan, but there's
And Joe
it's one of
Rogan.
so okay, so it's like one of those panel memes where it's like
Uh-huh.
the top picture is Anakin's turned to the dark side, and she's like, no, he couldn't, and he goes, I saw a video of him killing younglings, and the bottom one is Joe Rogan's like, Jamie, pull that video up. It's so funny. It's so
You know,
niche, but it's great.
something to be said, and this is, I'm stealing this from a coworker, that he says when it comes to original trilogy versus prequel trilogy versus sequel trilogy, it's all about the meme economy. He loves the prequel
Yeah.
trilogy, and the memes live in the prequel trilogy. They
Oh
really,
yeah,
really
for
do.
sure.
While you were talking about the scene where Count Dooku dies, the scene where so I saw. I'm trying to poorly describe a meme to you, but it's a shot of Dooku walking in. You can see Dooku, you can see Anakin, Obi-Wan, and then Palpatine in the back. And it just says Anakin one day kills everyone in this room.
Yeah, there are a lot of great memes that came out of the prequel trilogy. And this movie is peak prequel. I mean, everything that we had seen built up to it. It's not perfect. And like I said, like where did General Grievous come from? Like he just like was there from the beginning of the movie, and we're like, who are you? Like, I don't understand. But yeah, I mean, it's flawed but really good, I think.
Yeah. And it has my most quotable Star Wars line in it, which is "Hello there." I say that probably every day.
I say that pretty often too. Yeah, it is great, and that fight with Obi-Wan and Grievous is a lot of fun too. So yeah, Revenge of the Sith, great movie. But I'll keep us going on my number 4.
Yeah,
and I'm sure most people will have this up pretty high on their list as well, and that's Mandalorian.
All right.
And man, it's kind of like you talked about earlier. We're coming up. It's October 23rd. We're coming up on November, and so the last couple of years we've had Mando to look forward to. So I'm really sad that we don't have season 3 coming up here in a few weeks or a month.
It feels a little weird.
It does. I mean, I think they just started filming it a week or so ago. So it's cool. We're still a ways off, which is a little sad. But fortunately, we have Hawkeye coming up next month. But anyway, Mandalorian itself, the first season is very good. It's very grounded, and you're really starting to learn about Mando and see him become the main character, the protagonist, and that first episode's like, this is interesting. It's all right. Like, I'm kind of curious as to where they're going with this, and then when you see Grogu, at the time Baby Yoda, you're like, whoa, like that's unexpected. You had my curiosity, now you have my attention.
Yes.
And watching that whole thing sort of unfold over the first season, and all the different characters that they had kind of brought in, between obviously what's her name, Gina Carano's character. Obviously she's not going to be around anymore, but she was interesting, at least for a little while. Bill Burr's character is great. Giancarlo Esposito as Moff Gideon is
knocked it out of the water. What a cool villain.
Oh my god, man. And of course they expand on him further in season 2, and season 2 took like a pretty good, like, fun show and just upped the ante in a way that I really wasn't expecting. I mean, the first episode was kind of like, it was like, this is pretty cool, and when they showed Boba's armor, you're like, oh man, are we gonna get that? And then of course he does, and it's so well done. The first time you see him in the armor and he's fighting, you're like, oh man, this is everything we wanted and more. And then like the Bo-Katan episode was a lot of fun, and of course like the other bounty hunter she has with her. Now, you know me, I'm a big wrestling fan, so Sasha Banks, I'm a huge fan of. Seeing her in the show is a lot of fun.
I didn't even know she was a wrestler. I had no idea.
Yeah, that's Sasha Banks. Yeah, she's
one of the best
wrestlers in the world.
Cool.
Yeah, she's great. Bill Burr's character comes back. Gosh, who else? Obviously, Luke at the very end is just
Fennec shows up again in season 2.
Fennec, thank you. Yeah, exactly. I was like, Fennec popping up is great, but that Luke scene, because you're like, the whole time you're like, because they had introduced the idea of a Jedi showing up in the episode where Grogu had spoken to the Force, right? Talked to the Force, whatever you would say. And so you're like, there's going to be a Jedi coming. But knowing at this point, this is post Revenge of the Sith, or Return of the Jedi, rather, there's like Luke, you could argue Ahsoka. That's another one. We saw Ahsoka. That was a lot of fun.
Yes. Yeah. Man, how do we forget Ahsoka?
Right, and that episode is amazing by itself.
Yes, it is.
But so like the idea of like what Jedi is going to show up, is it going to be Luke? No, it's not going to be Luke. And then he does, and you're like, oh. The second that you see the X-wing fly in, and it's so satisfying, and the whole thing, he's taking every one of those things out. I don't know if we'll see more of him in season 3, but my God, I hope so.
I doubt it. It'd be
probably not.
they'd have no shock value anymore, and I feel like that was the best part of Luke showing up, is that you didn't think that it was possible that they could just have Luke in this show, you know. And I doubt it. And if they do, I think it'll just be for reuniting with Grogu. I think that it'll
be a
have
quick
purpose.
thing.
Yeah.
I by no means do I expect him to have an actual story and arc. It'll just be a quick, like, hey, I'm back. Here's your buddy. Like, sort of thing.
Yeah. Mandalorian's great, man. It's my number 3. So it's right behind you. I feel like we've had the same one back to back twice now. And there's only a couple movies left, so
we kind of know.
We've got similar top 5s. When I started watching Mandalorian, when it very first came out, I was very excited about it, but I wanted to manage my expectations because I didn't know if they could make a good live action series. And after watching the first one, I know that I liked it a lot. I wasn't in love with it, but I was definitely telling people to watch it. But I was still a little bit reserved because I didn't know what the bulk of the show was going to be about. And after the finale of the finale of the first episode was great, and then season 2 was like, all of them were that good. Like all of the episodes of season 2 were as good or better than the finale of 1, and I feel like it's just gotten better. Like they've figured it out. Like they know that you need a good team up of characters that you're familiar with. It's just, I don't even know how to say it. I love it. It's such a good show.
Yeah, from the score, the tone, the way it's shot. Like, I agree. When it was coming out, I was like, I'll catch it. I'll check it out. It's Star Wars, so like, how bad could it be? But we've talked about it. I tend to like Star Wars that has Force users. So I was kind of just like, whatever, this will be fine. And like season 1, by no means was I like, this is great. I was like, this is good. I enjoyed having something to watch every week. It was a fun part of my routine for a while there. And it ended really in a way that was really satisfying. And then season 2 just took the ball and ran with it, man. It was
really, really picked up.
They figured it out, like you said. Yeah, they have their formula, I guess, for it, and I'm really excited to see what they do with it in season 3. I expect we'll see some Bo-Katan and Mando Darksaber stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. I am very intrigued. Is this a time? No, this isn't. I'm trying to think timeline-wise if Darth Maul could show up. I guess he couldn't. I'm trying to think of other characters that they could introduce that would be really cool. I guess Omega.
I could see that.
Maybe Cad, maybe a live-action Cad Bane. That'd be kind of cool.
I would see him more in Book of Boba Fett, though.
Same. Be very cool to see him in Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, I don't know who else they would add in Mando season 3, because like Ahsoka's taking place around the same time, Book of Boba Fett. So they have like this cool little small pocket of Star Wars that's taking place in these shows that they're starting to explore, which I'm excited about because it's away from the Skywalker saga. But you're exploring some characters that have been established. You're establishing some new ones. This is, I think, the most exciting time to be a Star Wars fan since Phantom Menace came out, I would say.
I wonder if we'll see any introduction of the First Order crop up in Mandalorian.
They kind of teased it a little bit, right? With the in season 2 when they go with Bill Burr's. I keep forgetting the guy's name.
I don't remember the character names either. I'm awful. I should have done a little research before we started talking to it.
Probably, but that episode where Bill Burr comes back and they go to that planet or whatever to get information. There's a conversation going on at a table, and they're kind of hinting towards a First Order. So, maybe we see some of that start to develop. Who knows?
That'd be interesting. That'd be really interesting.
Yeah. Yep. Well, all right. I'll keep us going. My number 3, which you've already talked about, Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I'm surprised you had it so low. because I love this movie. I mean, it's
Well,
seeing
go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
seeing Luke at the very beginning as he has like completed his training. Although I would have liked to see more of that, I guess.
Mhm.
But seeing him like as a fully established, developed Jedi is a lot of fun. He's got the new lightsaber, the whole stuff on Tatooine at the very beginning. He's saving Leia and Han, and that's just a ton of fun. Obviously, the final battle. That saber fight, like it's not as well choreographed as the ones that we'd see later on, but there's just like a raw, visceral emotion to that
Right.
fight where you see Luke start to teeter a little bit on the dark side, where he's not sure if he's what he's going to do, and he finally keeps his composure, and he's like, "I'm not going to kill him. I think I can still turn him." Like that whole story is done so well.
Mhm.
And I mean, honestly, like I don't know. I mean, I could see it. Yeah, like the middle of the movie, there's not like a whole lot going on. But I don't know what else you really could have done when you're finishing a story. You've got to. They have to find allies somewhere, right? Like the Rebel alliance is dwindling. It's pretty small. It's just like Han, Luke, Leia, Chewie, Lando. You know, it's getting smaller. So you have to find allies somewhere. Um,
Yeah,
but there's a lot to like here. It's the completed original trilogy. I don't think I couldn't put it any lower than number three.
I gotcha. I gotcha. And it was a struggle for me as well. I mean, having my my Return of the Jedi lower than Mandalorian, Revenge of the Sith, and Force Awakens is really just. I mean, it was more about how good those three things are, not about my feelings about Return of the Jedi.
Sure. But yeah, I mean that's all I have to say about it. Everybody's seen it a million times. There's a lot
Yeah.
to love about it. It's a completed journey. It's a really good ending. They didn't need to like leave it open ended for anything. It was like this is it. It's finalized. It's set. Man, yeah, it's great. I don't have much more to say about it though. So if you want to keep
Yeah.
this going, feel free.
All right, man. My number two, Empire Strikes Back. Love Empire. In the past, I've said that it's my favorite of the Star Wars movies. I'm kind of recently reevaluated and made, A New Hope my favorite one. But Empire's so good. Tonally, it's the one where they lose. It's the one. It's the tragedy of the three of the originals, and it's done super well. You get the revelation that Darth Vader's Luke's father. You finally get to see Luke fight with a lightsaber. Use the Force and all this. The scenes on Hoth were super super good. I mean I love every second of Empire Strikes Back. So it's hard to say that there's something that beats it because I truly love every little thing about it.
It's actually my number two as well.
Is it? Okay.
Um, and similar to you, for the longest time, it was my number one, but that was really more by default because everybody holds it in such high regard. Everybody sort of consensusly agrees that it's the best one, and I think that like you could argue that it is because like A New Hope is amazing. Obviously, it's our number one, um,
Hmm.
but it's in 1977. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
it's very basic, and they just take what worked so well and just expanded on it. And so yeah, like
Hmm.
you get to see more of Luke with the lightsaber and Empire and his whole journey on Hoth and the training and everything that he goes through, and so many great character moments with Yoda and do or do not. There's no try, and the
Hmm.
fight where he kills Vader and the helmet blows up and it's his face and it's
Yeah.
you know, it's there's so many good things about it thematically. Boba Fett first appearance. How cool is he? His ship, the Slave Two, although we can't call it that anymore, is really interesting and creative, and his chase of the Millennium Falcon through space and the asteroid field is great. Yeah, man, it's about as perfect a movie as you can get, and
Hmm.
I think that we both love time travel, and we sort of, I think, wish that it was real. And if the day comes where we can, I would love to go back and watch this in theaters, and
Yes.
sit in that theater and watch people watch Vader say, "Luke, no, I'm your father."
Yeah.
Because that's one of those things that's not just Star Wars significance, that's cinema significance. I mean, that is a cinematic masterpiece. Like, that's, to this day, if you've never seen this, it's shocking, and
Yeah.
it's kind of a trope now to say that, the villain
Right.
is the
Yeah.
hero's
But it
father, but
was,
this is
yeah.
the first one. I mean, I don't know if it's the first one for sure, but it's a damn close, I'm sure. So
Well, there's a reason that everybody knows the quote, right? Like there's a reason that not, people that aren't Star Wars fans know the line of dialogue. They know that Darth Vader's Luke's father. I mean, that is, they know that because of how crazy a reveal it was at the time, right?
and it's such a monumental thing that, because of that reveal, if there's a day that comes where I ever have a kid and I'm showing him or her Star Wars, you got to start with A New Hope, and you got to start with,
For sure.
and then you go right into, you can't start with Phantom Menace. If you're
For
introducing
sure.
someone to Star Wars, you have to start with the original trilogy for that, because you cannot deprive someone the shock
Hmm.
of Vader saying he's Luke's father, because it sounds so silly, right? It's such a, like, almost obvious thing, but it is a monumental shock, because it's so out of nowhere, right? It's just like,
Yeah.
man, because in The New Hope, Obi-Wan talks about how Vader killed his father, and said, like, there's like well, he did, kind of, and I don't know.
From a certain point of view.
From a certain point of view. Yeah, man, I love Empire. I love Empire, but we can talk about A New Hope if you're ready, unless you have more to say.
Yeah, let's do it. The OG, the original Star Wars,
New Hope.
1997, A New Hope. Unbeatable, unparalleled, perfect movie. I love everything about it. The reason that it's my number one is for the simple fact that, like, if you want to watch one movie, that's the one to watch, right? I mean, like, fans like us that have seen, the movies 100 times, you can start anywhere. You can watch any movie without any context and know exactly where you're at. But, like, if you wanted to show someone a Star Wars, that's the one. If you think, like, I'll just speak for myself. If I think Star Wars, that's the one I think of. It's the first one I saw as a kid. I'm pretty sure it didn't, like, set in my memory the way that, like, the prequels probably set in my memory first, because I was just a little kid watching these movies,
Yeah.
right? So, like, I didn't I was all about spaceships, explosions, lightsabers, Jedi at the time.
Same.
But then, you start to get into the prequels as a little kid, you and I were 7, 8 years old, watching prequel movies. And it's like, now that there's a little context, you go back to these older movies, you're like, wow, that's the best. That is absolutely the best.
Yeah, man. For me, I agree. If you're gonna introduce Star Wars to someone, you start here. If I'm, like, kind of in the mood for Star Wars, this is the one that you can kind of throw on. It's like I think you convinced me, because we kind of did something similar to this before we started podcasting. We did, like, a practice episode, and we had talked about this. And
Mm-hmm.
you told me A New Hope was your number one, and like, the more I thought about it, I was kind of like, man, you're right. Like, this is a complete movie. Like, they destroy the Death Star, and
Yeah.
they get their medals, and that's it.
Yeah.
But,
It's
like,
got such a
obviously, like,
great beginning, middle, end.
yes. And I'll admit, like, for a while, I was kind of indifferent about A New Hope. I always appreciated it, always respected it. It's the first one. It's a good movie, but it's very old. So if you don't like old movies, it could be, the pacing can be a little off. But because I'm such a diehard Star Wars fan, I grew up with it. I have no problem sitting down watching it. But yeah, and like, when I was a kid, you've made a great point. I was very into, like, the newer, exploding ships and lightsabers,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the better effects and all that. And so, like,
The
when
way
you
that a
see
kid
this,
thinks.
exactly. So when you would watch A New Hope, you're like, this is good, but, like,
This is
everything,
boring. I'm a kid.
exactly, yeah. But man, the last time I watched this, I kind of just sat and I was like, I can't believe how well this holds up.
It moves along
As
so well. Like each scene brings you to the next perfectly.
yeah,
Like it transcends old movies, in my opinion. And
even
maybe it's just because I've seen it so many times, but I just think that the way that it's put together trumps any old movie, because I personally think that old movies are boring still. Like, as you
oh
know what I mean?
man,
It's hard to get
I'm
through an
not that
older
way.
movie. Really?
I'm not that. I like. Yeah, I could go back to the 40s if it's a good enough movie. I like older
Wow.
movies, but like in this genre, I can understand because yeah, the special effects are so. There's no CGI. It's not even a thing at this point, right? So like, but you have to get creative. But knowing all that, that's why I'm so surprised at how well it holds up because of how limited it is. How there's
Yeah.
really not a drop in quality when you really break it down. Like, sure, you're not able to do what you're able to do nowadays with
Hmm.
holding a bolt of a gun and
Yeah.
whatnot else. But yeah, they do so much with it, and like there's just so many high drama moments, even for back then. The trash compactor, as clunky and awkward as the saber fight between Obi-Wan and Vader is, like that's a high moment where Obi-Wan dies, and you're like, oh my god, right? And
Yeah.
the watching Luke come up and sort of learn and start to get, he's still like just a kid here. He doesn't know how to use the lightsaber. He barely knows how to use a gun, right? He's never left Tatooine, and
Hmm.
there's a reason why Force Awakens works so well because that story is so well done, right?
Yeah,
So
you have such a perfect blueprint.
yeah, A New Hope is. If you haven't watched it in a while and you're kind of indifferent on older movies, folks,
Shoot.
run it back. Run it back because it holds up so well.
Yeah.
So
So let's do it again. If there's a favorite part of A New Hope, what's your favorite scene out of A New Hope?
that's good. That's a good question. Um,
Do you want me to go first? I go first. Go on.
no, I know.
Okay.
It's Han coming back, shooting Vader's ship. Luke blows up the Death Star because
Hmm.
because that, and again, that's another like trope that happens now where the guy leaves and comes back. But I'm sure at the time it was like Solo's gone, like that's it. You
Hmm.
you don't expect him to come back, and he totally does. It's like, this is cool. Like
Hmm.
Solo's back.
Well, it's a good character defining moment for Han Solo,
Yeah,
because he proves to you that he's got the heart of gold that you maybe didn't expect yet. Because he said he was out. He said he got his money. He got, I mean, I did the job. I'm not here to be a
yeah,
rebel. I'm not here to stick around. I am who I am. See ya. And then he leaves. And then when he shows up, man, it's a good. I mean, I can't, go back to the first time I watched Star Wars and experience it again. I always expect Han Solo to come in and save the day, but how cool would that have been? 1977,
oh
seeing that on the
man,
big screen for the first time. Hell yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Is that your favorite too, or
No, no, no. I would say my favorite scene is the scene where Luke is at Obi-Wan's house, and they're talking about the Force, and they're talking about the
mm,
Jedi, and he's kind of, and Luke is holding the Anakin lightsaber and waving it around and stuff. And did you know about my father? Like, and your father was a cunning pilot, a great warrior,
yeah,
and a good friend, and all that. Like, oh, that's so good. And maybe it's because of the appreciation that I have about the prequels, but like I think about all the scenes from the prequels while he's telling all these stories about Anakin, and it's just such a good scene. It's such a it's really where the plot of A New Hope picks up and pivots to what the movie's going to be about too. So even if you
yeah.
hadn't seen prequels, like this scene is kind of getting down to it, teaching the audience along with Luke about the Force, about the Jedi and good and evil and all this.
And what's cool about that scene, they at that point they didn't know that Vader was going to be Luke's father.
That's so
So
interesting.
the fact that that worked out so well,
Mhm.
and the fact that they were able to build on that, he used to be a good friend and great pilot, and they show that, and in the prequels. It's like it just worked out so well for that to be just like this unplanned thing.
Hmm.
I'm really glad that because you can watch A New Hope now after having watched the prequels, and like that scene makes total sense. It works. And then when you get to Empire and Vader shows that he's his father, you're like, oh my god, okay. And then it just all works so well. So yeah, that's a great favorite scene.
Yeah, then you after you know that, and then you watch that scene again, you pick apart the lines of dialogue in a new light.
Yeah, exactly. Do you
Yeah,
remember the
very.
first time you saw this movie?
The first time I saw the original Star Wars,
A New Hope,
uh,
yeah.
I don't remember. I don't remember a lot from it. I remember my dad showed it to me because it was one of his favorite movies. If I had to timestamp it was probably like 1996. I was probably like 3 years old. I remembered being glued to it at certain points, and I remember being bored at certain points. Like I was a little kid watching an older movie,
Yeah.
and then when I really started to gain an appreciation for it, I would watch the original trilogy back to back to back in a day. Like when I was a little child and didn't have any responsibilities, I got home from school. I was like, I don't really feel like playing video games. Watch all of the Star Wars movies.
Oh yeah, man, for sure. Well, it's funny because it's funny that you say that. In if it was 96,
Hmm.
that was only 19 years after 77. So
Yeah,
like if you go back to now, 19 years ago from now, like that's 2002, which is Attack of the
yeah.
Clones. So it's like it's funny that movie would be old at the time because it would be
Oh
pretty
yeah.
recent, relatively speaking.
But you've got the
Um,
advancements of technology, or for filmmaking, unbelievable in the 80s and 90s.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I similar to you, I was about the same age. I was maybe 3 or 4. I don't remember the full context. I think it might have been with some distant cousins or something like that, and we had just
Yeah.
kind of thrown it on.
Hmm.
And that was my introduction to Star Wars. I was 3 or 4, and I just remember the opening scene where Vader walks in, and I was genuinely terrified of him. I was like, I don't want to watch this. Like it was like watching
This is a
Halloween.
horror show. Yeah.
I was like, I was so scared of him.
Hmm.
And it's just funny because here I am now. I'm 29 years old, and I've been watching these movies basically my entire life, and
Yeah.
I don't remember a whole lot from those years, but I remember seeing Darth Vader at like 3 or 4 years old and being terrified. I don't remember anything else about watching it that day though. That's all I remember.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish that I had more of a a memory attached with it, but I really don't. I just remember growing up with it.
Same, yeah, same,
Yeah.
same. Yeah, similar to you. I had them on VHS. I had the pre-remastered on VHS.
Hmm.
So like I had Han shooting first. I had all that. So
Oh yeah.
um,
Yep.
yeah, that's what I
Same.
grew up with. Although I think that they did change. Um, what's the damn song? Yub Nub or whatever it is. It
Oh,
was
from Return of the Jedi.
it was it was what they have now. The dun, 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 like that. That's what I grew up with
Yeah.
too, though. So
Okay. I don't
I don't
honestly,
know.
I don't remember. I don't remember Return of the Jedi, which one I grew up with, to be honest with you. I've seen both a lot just from like being curious about the differences and like seeking them out. Like I know the
Yeah,
differences. Like with Return of the Jedi specifically, I have no idea which one I saw first. I don't know which one I grew up with. I just know the differences.
yeah. Well, man, it's pretty cool that this franchise has stood the test of time the way it has, and I know
Yeah.
it's so divisive. I'm sure people that listen to this or watch this are like, man, what do you mean you have this there? It is what it is, man. This
Cool.
is how I
Comment. Give
feel.
us your list.
Yeah, let us know what you thought. Let's run it down real quick. I'll start.
Yeah.
So from 15 to 1, I had Solo, Bad Batch, Rise of Skywalker, Phantom Menace, Rebels, Last Jedi, Clone Wars, Force Awakens, Attack of the Clones, Rogue One, Revenge of the Sith, Mandalorian, Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, and A New Hope.
And mine was Solo. No, I'm reading yours. Mine was The Phantom Menace, Rogue One, Bad Batch, Rise of Skywalker, Attack of the Clones, Clone Wars, Last Jedi, Solo, Rebels, Return of the Jedi, Force Awakens, Revenge of the Sith, Mandalorian, Empire Strikes Back, and A New Hope.
Woo! Well, that was a
Did it.
lot of fun, man. We went longer than I thought we would. Again,
Eh,
we went
I
almost
don't
as
know.
long as we did with Marvel, and we had half the
No
comments.
way, really?
Yeah, yes.
That's
We've been going for
unbelievable,
over
man.
2 hours. Yeah.
No way. I feel like it's been an hour 10 max.
Yeah, we've been going for quite a while. So
Wow.
thank
that's
you guys
unbelievable.
again for sticking with us throughout this entire pod. I know it was a long one. You guys really, if you stuck with us to the end, you really toughed it out. So we appreciate it. Like Jack said, let us know what you think as far as our list goes. What are your lists? The links to our social media accounts are in the show notes below. If you're on YouTube, put them in the comments. Leave us a like. We really appreciate it. Yeah, man, I'm here to talk about Star Wars any day you want to.
For sure. Yeah. And so we've got 4 more weeks before Hawkeye. So we're gonna have some stuff that's similar to this, a little lower key, not analytical, a little more exploring our favorites, probably. We've got some ideas. I'm very excited for the next few weeks. These have been really fun, these off-season type shows.
I agree. These have been a lot of fun. I don't anticipate we'll have any more 2-hour plus episodes, but
Maybe.
I have enjoyed the more free-flowing aspect of it.
Yeah,
we don't really know for sure what we're going to do. Eternals comes out here in a couple weeks, so we will definitely do a review of that. So keep your eye out for that. But next week we're kind of unsure, so we'll come up with some ideas. I might have a few. I'll talk with you off air, but we'll be back. And thank you guys again for checking us out, listening, watching, however you're consuming this. It means a lot. So
yeah.
we appreciate you guys. Happy fall. Halloween's next week. Stay safe. And we'll catch you guys next time.
All right. We love you. We'll catch you later.